We're living through this incredible moment where artificial intelligence is just evolving at a breathtaking pace. But here's the thing, the laws that are supposed to guide and govern it, they are seriously struggling to keep up. So the big question is, how do we build the guardrails for this rocket ship while it's already in flight? Let's get into it.
And this really is the central question of our time when it comes to this technology. Because look, if we don't consciously and carefully write the rules, they're just going to get written for us, by default, by accident, or maybe even by the technology itself. So how do we get ahead of the curve?
All right, so to really understand the solution, we first have to get a handle on the problem. And the problem is what experts are calling the AI governance gap. You can kind of picture it as a new unexplored frontier, a modern-day Wild West for technology, where the old rulebook just doesn't apply anymore.
Here is the core of the problem in a nutshell. AI tools are being developed and adopted at lightning speed, while our legal and regulatory systems, well, they're moving at the pace of a tortoise. This mismatch in speed is what's driving this entire governance issue. This gap creates what the source material calls a regulatory vacuum. So what does that actually mean in the real world? It means AI systems can be developed and rolled out with no standard safety checks, no clear lines of accountability, and really no legal backstop if something goes wrong. It's a state of unchecked development, and that, for sure, carries some pretty significant risk. So how do we fill this vacuum? I mean, we can't just slap old laws onto this brand new technology. The legal scholars and policymakers in our source material point to a really powerful concept as a potential answer. It's called lex specialis, which is just Latin for a special law for a special case. What this really means, fundamentally, is that when you have something truly new and unique, like AI, you need to create new and unique rules just for it. So instead of trying to jam a square peg into a round hole, you build a square hole. It's all about creating bespoke, tailored legislation specifically for the challenges that AI presents. Think of it this way. General traffic laws, right? They apply to all vehicles. But a fully autonomous, self-driving car presents challenges those laws never, ever anticipated. That's where lex specialis would come in, creating specific rules just for self-driving cars. Or, hey, consider healthcare. A general law for medical devices is fine, but it might not account for an AI that diagnoses diseases from scans and is constantly learning and changing. A lex specialis would create a specific regulatory pathway just for that learning AI system. So how does this whole idea translate into a practical blueprint? Well, a lex specialist for AI wouldn't be some single blunt instrument. Instead, the proposal is for a much more nuanced, risk-based framework, a system that treats different AI applications differently based on their potential to cause harm. And this framework really stands on three core pillars. First, you define what's completely off-limits, prohibited uses that are just deemed too dangerous for society, period. Second, for applications that are identified as high risk, like in medicine or critical infrastructure, you don't ban them, but you impose incredibly strict conditions on how they can be used. And third, and this one is absolutely crucial, you mandate independent audits to make sure these rules are actually being followed. It's a system of clear red lines, strong guardrails, and mandatory verification. Okay, so if you take a step back and look at the big picture, what this framework represents is more than just a new law. It actually signals a fundamental shift in how we even think about governing technology itself, moving from just abstract ideas to very concrete actions. For years now, AI governance has been dominated by these principle-based approaches. Ethical guidelines, voluntary codes of conduct. They're important, but they often have no real teeth. This proposal is all about moving to enforceable technical governance, which means rules with real legal consequences. This really represents a massive evolution in governance. We're moving away from the old way, which relied on vague guidelines and basically hoping for the best, to a new way that's built on strict, verifiable rules and clear liability. It's the difference between a friendly recommendation and the actual rule of law. It's about ensuring safety is built in from the ground up, not just sprinkled on as an afterthought. And that brings us to the final, lingering question. A framework like lex specialis gives us a powerful blueprint for technical and legal safety. But with the technology that literally learns and evolves on its own, will even the smartest, most enforceable rules we can design today be enough to steer its future responsibly tomorrow? That remains the great open question that we all have to answer.